Welcome, everybody. We're really so delighted that you've all joined us tonight. I am Gail Schorsch, and I am the director of Bronx Eats. I know some of you, but not all of you. And Bronx Eats is basically all about making healthy cooking and eating a community habit through hands-on food education. I launched Bronx Eats last October, and many of the classes have been at Lehman and all over the Bronx, and I'm very thrilled during Corona to be partnering with plant-powered Metro New York to bring you this new cooking series called Bronx Cooks Together. And it's a series of culinary demonstrations that are featuring all Bronx chefs and cooks. And I'm delighted to have Chef Thomas Stevens, launching us into this new series.
Excellent. Thanks, Gail. And I'm Leanna Levine-Reisner. I'm the Network Director of Plant-Powered Metro New York. Very happy to have met Gail through a mutual friend and to sort of conceive of this together with her as a way of our own, trying to be connected to our communities at this crazy time. I also want to acknowledge Vivian Lee on this call. Vivian, will you do a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Vivian Lee, and I am a Bronx organizer for Plant-Powered Metro New York. And I'm as thrilled as Gail to have Bronx chefs, to be highlighting Bronx chefs and leading our culinary series. So welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Vivian. So a little bit about us. Plant-Powered Metro New York is promoting our collective health empowerment by educating about the power of whole food plant-based nutrition. This is an evidence-based approach to nutrition that can prevent, treat, and sometimes even reverse chronic illness, including heart disease, diabetes, cancers, and more. So through the Bronx Cooks Together series, we're going to help you explore the delicious flavors of plant-based cuisine prepared with minimal processed ingredients to show you how fun and easy it is to make these health-promoting dishes at home with fresh ingredients.
But the idea is that we hope you'll repeat or learn a recipe here, or two recipes here, and either during the class or after the class, you can repeat what you've learned. So you're free to cook along at home right now, but that is definitely not required. And if you didn't receive the recipes in advance, please use the chat button to let us know, and we will definitely make sure that those recipes get to you. And as we get started, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. We'd love to know where you're from and what you hope to learn today. And obviously, you should mute yourselves. Some of you, your mic isn't working, so that's kind of perfect. We just want to make sure that everybody can hear. So we encourage you to ask questions through the chat box. As the demo proceeds, if there's something you really need to know urgently, put it in the chat box. I'll try to ask Thomas as he's going through some of those questions, and the rest of the questions we will save for the Q&A at the end. And again, we're just delighted that you're here. We hope you really enjoy this. Please come back next week. For the next 3 weeks after this, we will be continuing, and there's more to come even after that. So we hope we'll get you hooked to this style of learning new recipes and that you'll really become part of our extended family. And let's get started.
So I'm going to do a quick bio for Chef Thomas. Chef Thomas Stevens is the founder, creative director, and master teacher of the Fresh Start Initiative. He's also the founder of Brick House Pantry, a small New York City-based catering service that caters casual and formal events, as well as offering private chef services. He's been cooking professionally and teaching culinary arts for over 20 years. A passionate urban farmer, Thomas founded the Fresh Start Initiative in 2014 to teach children from pre-K to high school to cook, eat, and live better. Using progressive learning strategies, the Fresh Start Initiative's programs are designed to provide useful culinary skills, seasonal food knowledge, nutrition information, kitchen safety, urban gardening skills, and cultural diversity to inner city children, and strives to build confidence in making food choices to impact health in a positive way. So what better way to kick this off? Take it away, Chef Thomas.
Hey, everybody. I'm like, who wrote that? Yeah, every time I hear things like that, I'm like, who wrote it? But hello, everybody. I'm Chef Thomas, as you just heard, and welcome to my quarantine kitchen. I have started using my basement kitchen, which was just like my brainstorming area, to now shoot culinary classes and things like that. So welcome, and excuse, the appearance. We're under construction. So I don't know if you all have the recipe. I don't have it in front of me, but I have the ingredients here. So I'm gonna get right into it because I know pretty much what I'm doing, since this is something that I like to eat often. I spoke with Gail a little bit about this before, and this is kind of just something I like to throw together on days that I'm really busy because it cooks fast. So the difference today in what we're doing, I'm not using any oil. Typically, when you do a stir fry, you are frying, you are using some kind of fat or oil. But today, we're gonna do something a little different, and we're using vegetable broth, we're using water, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. And we're gonna do more of a steaming as opposed to a frying. But we're still gonna use our wok, and we're gonna make it work with that, all right? So I have some ingredients that I prepared a little bit in advance, which is my carrots and some of my red cabbage, just to save a little bit of time so you guys don't have to watch me mauling all these vegetables for the next 40 minutes. So I will cut this onion, and I don't know if I'm gonna use the whole onion. I know the recipe says 1 whole onion, but we'll see. Just because we don't wanna overcrowd. Since we're using steaming as opposed to frying, we don't wanna overcrowd the wok. So I'm not gonna start with the onion, just because when you cut your onion first on your board, what's going to happen there is that you're going to get all those onion juices on your board, and anything you chop after that, it's going to be like cutting an onion all over again. And I don't want you guys to watch me crying for the duration of this class. So we're going to start with our cabbage, and it's just going to be very thinly sliced. And we don't need a whole lot of it. When I'm stir frying, I will definitely use this whole half of small cabbage. But this time I'm going to use a little less. The beauty about cabbage for a dish like this is that it is made of such a large amount of water that it's going to steam and break down really quickly, especially if you cut it really thin. And that looks like a good amount right there. And I'm just going to add it to my plate with the rest of my yummy veggies. And then I'm going to get to my pepper. So you want to remember when you're doing this, if you're not using oil especially, you want to cut your vegetables pretty thin. And it's the same thing with the pepper. I'm gonna probably use just half of the pepper for now. And I'm gonna go really thin. Now, don't worry if you don't cut like this at home, it's okay, take your time. I do this every day. So now it's just kind of second nature. But definitely practice your knife skills because that saves you a lot of time in the kitchen. And I'm just gonna add this also to my plate of fresh veggies. Now, because I'm in my home quarantine kitchen, things change up a little bit. I had cashews on my salad ingredients, only to find that one of my children ate the cashews. So we are going to put something in place of that. And I had a few other things on here that may not make it into the recipe for the same reasons. Because they like to visit my downstairs kitchen when something's not in the upstairs kitchen and see what dad has. But now I'm just skinning my garlic. And I don't mind losing a little bit of garlic just because I'm composting this later anyway. And with the garlic, same thing. You want to go thin. What I really like to do with the garlic is kind of do it in the same way I did the carrots. So I'm making these thin slices, but then I'm also going to make them into little matchsticks.
And that's ginger, right? Not garlic, ginger? I'm
sorry, yes, ginger. Now, the reason I don't like to grate the ginger and I will grate the carrot is because the ginger can get very, very, very juicy when you're grating it. So I just prefer to just slice it up like this and make my matchsticks like this. Good catch, thank you. Garlic was on my mind because it's one of those things that I was referring to that I had a nice bit set to the side. So I grow garlic and I grow onions and ginger and everything at home. So I don't always have a large amount of those things. And,
so, Chef Thomas, there's a question about whether you can substitute ginger powder for fresh ginger. Is that something that you recommend? Or
You can substitute ginger powder. So you can pretty much substitute any dry for any wet. It's just going to be, you just have to know the difference in flavor. So fresh ginger is going to be a lot more potent than powdered ginger. So depending on how much ginger flavor you like, you'll need to add a little more of the powder. The other thing with the powder is that you have to be careful because it can clump up as soon as it gets a little wet, and it doesn't evenly distribute depending. But with a dish like this where there's going to be a lot of liquid in there, go for it. It should evenly distribute and you'll just be fine. And that's for most dry seasonings. Okay, now on to the onion. And this is how quick this is. I'm gonna actually start heating up my wok because this is how fast this is. Like once you cut these veggies, it's time to start throwing them in the wok. And the same thing with the onion. I'm just gonna go thin slices. All I'll do after is just loosen these up by hand. And that's about it. I wish I could give you guys a tutorial on how to dice an onion because that's something that comes up very often. But we're just gonna do thin slices. Thin slices. And that's actually good enough. We don't, like I said, we don't want to overcrowd the wok with the vegetables. So now with the cooking, I have spinach on here, and I'm going to actually move most of the spinach to the board because spinach cooks really quickly, and I like my spinach to be more on the fresh side than anything. So it's something that I throw in typically at the very end after I remove it from the heat. And I just mix it in. Just the residual heat will wilt the spinach just enough to keep it kind of fresh and crunchy. I don't like to overcook any of the veggies. The cabbage, onions, and peppers and carrots, they can all go in together. But I'm gonna save the onions and throw everything else in first, and then I'll add the onions in, and I'll show you guys that. I'm gonna slide the wok over so you guys can see what's happening. Now, down here, I'm using electricity. So I'm gonna throw some veggies into the wok just to test it and check for the heat. So now these are our veggies that we cut. And I'll slide this over so you guys can get a better view of that. We have our board here.
Chef Thomas, if there's like a number one skill that folks should focus on with using knives, what would you recommend practicing?
Number one skill is proper grip. And that would be bending your fingers back like this and tucking your thumb in. Your knife should always be resting near or on your hand. That's the safest way to use a knife. The other thing is make sure you have a sharp knife. There's nothing more dangerous than a dull knife because you find yourself trying to force your knife through your food, and then a lot of times it can slide off and come down on a finger, and that's not what you want. But the number one thing is just practice keeping your knife close, holding your knife by the handle. Try not to keep your pointer finger up here because a lot of people do that. And this kind of throws you off balance. It also takes away from some of the strength that you put into your knife. All your strength is coming from your wrist as you cut. And a lot of times you'll cut like this with a hand on top, but all that strength is coming from flexing your wrist. So you just let the weight of your arm and the weight of the handle come down and just keep this right here.
Right.
No problem.
Thomas, there's an additional question about what knife is best for slicing up the cabbage and red pepper. Do you have a particular knife?
We don't. So as far as cutting the knife I used to cut, I don't have like a particular brand or anything like that. I like several different knives. The most important thing is, and I'll just show you. So this knife, okay. This knife here that I was just cutting with, and let me bring this down here. This knife here is, I think a $15 or $20 knife, okay, that I got from a commercial kitchen warehouse. And this knife is very sharp. It has a tang here attached, which is good because your finger, you want it to rest up under here. And sometimes when you get inexpensive knives, it doesn't have this piece and it's just the back of the knife, which is sharp, so it can hurt you. So you just want to make sure you have protection under here, that you have a good sturdy handle, and that it's sharp and it'll last for a while. So you want to go stainless steel. And the knife is actually a chef's knife. So go with a chef's knife. They come in different sizes. So if you want to start off with a smaller one to be comfortable, then do that and then work your way up. You'll find as you go along, you'll think to yourself, you know what, I need a bigger knife, and I need a bigger knife. So I have this one, but I also have this here, and this looks almost identical, but this is a Wusthof knife, and don't even ask about the price. And then I have another knife right here, and this is a Japanese chef knife, and this is by Henkel's, and forget about it, it's even more than the Wusthof knife. So I have a bunch of different chef knives, but all of them work pretty well. And this is already smoking, so we're gonna throw in, and as we go, I'll show you guys what's happening here. So right now, the wok is just dry, and it's hot.
You didn't put any oil in there?
No oil.
No oil.
No oil. So we're gonna start, I have vegetable broth here. We're gonna start with just a little broth. And I know you guys can probably hear that. And basically, we just have a Mod Podge of the veggies at the bottom. And that the thing about a wok, you wanna keep a wok for something like this, even if you're doing the steaming way like this, if you're doing liquid. If you use something heavy bottom, then it's not gonna work out the same. A wok is just very thin. It gets hot really quickly. You don't wanna start making soup. You wanna try to keep your veggies as crisp as possible. So I'm gonna keep my heat up high the same way. I'm gonna put little bits of liquid at a time so that my veggies cook slightly, but they're not like turning into soup. I'm not boiling it. I can hear it starting to bubble. I'm gonna dry off my wooden spoon. That's another thing I love to use, which is wooden utensils. So I just have a square wooden spoon here. It's like bamboo or something. And I just wanna make sure I'm moving this around. Now this broth, this is vegetable broth, and it has no salt, okay? And that's the thing with stir fries. Most of your salt content is gonna come from your tamari or liquid aminos or soy sauce, whichever thing you're choosing to use. I typically use tamari, that's what I have here. This is also reduced sodium tamari. So this broth is literally just to cook it down and give a slight vegetable flavor of whatever veggies were used to make this broth. And that's about it. And this liquid seems to be enough. It's like, it's not evaporating yet. I'm actually gonna add the onions in. One of the last things I add is the ginger and garlic if we were using the garlic.
Chef Thomas, there was a question about whether you made the broth or are you using store-bought broth?
Well, the difficulty without, especially if you're gonna use, this is just a flat top electric burner. If you're on fire, your wok is gonna get hot, and you can lower the temperature, but you'll get a lot of smoke. So that's the only thing about cooking it without using anything at the bottom. You'll get a lot of smoke, and you don't want your house to get smoky, or you don't want to set off any alarms. I set off alarms all the time in my house, and nobody likes it.
So the broth you're putting in, is that something that's homemade or something that you purchased at the store?
This one is purchased. I have homemade broth in my freezer, and it didn't thaw out in time. So, but I usually have a box of organic broth on the shelf, so I just pulled one off the shelf. I also have just a little thing of salt here and pepper. This is actually red pepper flakes. That's for the salad for later. But depending on if I want to put, if I don't want to put too much of the tamari or anything, or even if I don't want to put any, sometimes I'll just use the tamari just for a topping when the dish is all done. So sometimes I'll use a little salt and pepper in the dish, and then I'll top it with the tamari after. Now this, as you can see, it's already starting to soften up. It's looking pretty good. I don't want it to get too soft because, again, it's supposed to be crunchy. It's a stir fry, air quotes, stir fry. It's not really frying just yet. I'm gonna throw my ginger in, and I'm not gonna put all of it, just a few sticks, because this ginger smelled very, very potent. And this is just so easy. I can't stress it enough. This is a go-to thing that I do all the time, depending on what veggies I have. If I have a zucchini, if I have yellow peppers, even green peppers, whatever I have in the fridge, kale, any kind of greens that I have in there. I just throw it in the wok. I toss it with maybe a little olive oil, and then I stir fry it. And if I have some brown rice or anything like that, or rice noodles, I just throw it in there with it. Or sometimes I don't throw anything in there. I just do all veggies, and I'll cut my veggies a little bit bigger. Lots of squash, zucchini, and yellow squash, onions, cabbage. I love to have the cabbage in there. You can put celery, you can put green beans, you can put broccoli, all these different vegetables. So you never get bored. Sometimes I do a little ginger, sometimes I do a lot. Sometimes I go spicy, sometimes I go a little sweet. I can chop up some dates or something and throw it in there, or I can do a little sauce with maybe a little pure maple or something like that in there. So it depends on whatever your preference is. Now this is ready for my noodles, and I have dry noodles, no oil on it. These are rice noodles. They're already cooked, and I'm gonna just drop them in there. Now, once you drop your noodles in there, the noodles are very sticky, okay? Especially if they're not in water or they're not in oil, they're gonna be sticky. So that will definitely start absorbing your liquid quickly, and I'll show you guys as we mix it together. This will start to absorb the liquid pretty quickly, and then it's gonna be time to add in your tamari. And it's just this quick. This is basically ready because the noodles are already cooked. And you can buy noodles that actually come, rice noodles that actually come vacuum sealed and already cooked. But rice noodles cook in about 3 minutes, so you don't even have to do that. If you have 10 minutes of time, you can make this dish really quickly. Which is why I chose this dish, because it's something I really enjoy, but it's also really quick, and we'll have time to do a salad also. So I'm gonna let this cook just for a minute, let the noodles heat up, let it absorb some of the broth, and then I'll throw in the tamari. What I will do now is throw in the spinach. You know what? Actually, no, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I don't want my spinach to get too wilted. I'm gonna wait till a little more of this liquid is absorbed. It smells really good. I don't know if you guys can see the steam coming up, but this is going right up my nose right now. And I'm like, ugh. I didn't eat lunch deliberately just because I knew I was gonna make this.
So Chef Thomas, there's a question about what tamari is used for and where you can buy it.
Tamari actually has become very popular, and it's just a pure soy sauce. So this is just 100% soy sauce, like no added ingredients. And let me look at it right now. Yeah, it's just 100% water and soybeans. And you can always check the labels to be sure that your tamari, I also use liquid aminos, which is the same thing. It's just soy sauce that doesn't have any added salt or any other preservatives and stuff like that. And you just want to be careful what soy sauce you choose. And it's just used for everything you would use soy sauce for. I use it for stir fries. I use it for marinades. I use it for fried rice and things like that. This looks really good. And I'm gonna actually add my tamari at the end, like what I said I do sometimes. I'm gonna add it at the end. So I'm gonna put my spinach in now. And I like spice, so I'm gonna sprinkle some of these red pepper flakes in there. And it's gonna look like a lot. Don't try this at home unless you know what you're doing with that red pepper. And you can see it's not much spinach. And I'm gonna turn off the heat because this is basically done and ready to be served up. And we'll get our noodle plate back over here. And we'll get some of this onto the plate. And it's great to have these big fresh leaves of spinach all in there. The fresher and crunchier your veggies, the better. You want all your stuff to be alive. You want to get those active enzymes. If you cook it down too much, you're killing your food. So we want to get as much crunch and freshness as possible.
So there's a question about how big a portion is that? Is that for one person? Is that for a family?
This plate is not, this is a pretty big plate, but it's not big enough for a family, or especially not my family. But 2 people can easily have that as a meal. And I'm just going to sit that to the side. And then with the tamari, this is really where you get your flavor from. So you can wait until you take your portion and then dress it on your plate. Or you can we'll just dress it now, which this is about the amount that I would put if it were cooking. I would just drizzle it over the top. And then after that, it is whatever your preference is for your flavor profile. Some people like not much salt content, though tamari does have a slight flavor. We know what soy sauce tastes like, but we know the flavor profile is salty. So with that being the case, you can just choose how much salty or how much soy sauce flavor you actually want. And that is how to make that dish. And what we do is we serve it typically with some wedges of lime to squeeze on top. The citrus is really nice. It adds a nice little flavor to it, and it makes the soy sauce pop. It really goes well with the soy sauce and the ginger.
So there's a comment that says, wow, I can't believe you made that without any oil. And I know that my co-sponsor, Plant Powered Metro New York, is very interested in eliminating oil as much as possible because it's quite fattening. And so you've just shown us that this dish can be made without oil and be absolutely delicious.
Yeah, so just to share, you know, inside to, you know, my everyday, I had a client who was reaching out to me over the past couple of days. She is vegan and she calls herself fat vegan. And I tell her, you're not fat, you know, but she calls herself that, and her issue is oil. She's using olive oil and avocado oil and coconut oil every day on everything. And because of that, it's just, it's what it is, it's fat. So we put some limes on the side, and whoever's gonna eat this will probably enjoy that.
Can you just pass it to the Zoom?
So now I'm just gonna clear a little bit of this, and we're gonna have a salad to go with it. So yeah, oil, you can do a lot without oil. We don't fry or anything like that, except for on occasion. And obviously as a private chef, I get the occasional request to make something fried. And my background starting out was in soul food and Spanish food and Caribbean food. So there was a lot of like fried chicken and different things and mac and cheese and all that good stuff. But then being that I was into sports, I always thought about my health. So even when I was cooking these things, I always made sure I had my vegetables and my fruits and stuff like that. And I tried to create a balance. And where I come from, most people don't want a balance. They're like, no. Give me my mac and cheese and hold the greens. So I made it my business to start encouraging people from my family and community and stuff to eat healthier, make healthier choices, and show them that even if you're gonna have your fried chicken, have a salad on the side, have some vegetables on the side, and don't cook them until they're pudding. Let's have something fresh. So I have some red onion, more lime. Now you can use your tamari also to make dressing for your salad. I'm not using any oil on the salad either. It's just gonna be very simple, and I'm gonna show you what I mean right now. So before we start with this onion, I already told you about the onion. We'll do cucumber, and I like to take the tip off the cucumber first because put those to the side for compost. And we'll just do some little half circles like this.
There was a question, how can you avoid getting the foods from sticking to the pan without oil?
Just the way we did it, with just some moisture at the bottom. As long as there's moisture, you shouldn't have anything sticking. That wok is not nonstick. A lot sticks to that wok, and that wok sticks even with oil sometimes, depending. So that just shows you that just liquid in itself can work even better than oil sometimes. to prevent sticking.
Gotcha.
I put I steam rice and things to reheat it in a pot with just a lid, and I just use a little liquid at the bottom, and that's it. Once it's hot and it's steaming, you shouldn't have any problems. But you want to make sure that the liquid can boil quickly. So that's why in a pot, heavy bottomed with the lid or something like that, I'm not going to put the rice or the vegetables or anything in there first. I'm going to allow that pot to heat up and then that liquid to heat up so that it's boiling or simmering before I add whatever I'm steaming to prevent the sticking. And then I mix it around a lot the same way I mixed in the wok. With a wok, it heats up so fast, I can throw the veggies in, put the liquid in, it's going to boil like that, and then I can still mix it around. So just remember, be careful. Don't put your stuff into like a heavy bottom pot right away. Let the liquid start to boil a little bit first, but then with that, you should be fine. And just move it around. Or put a lid on it so that it's steaming. That should keep it from sticking. Couple of grape tomatoes, and I'm just cutting them in half lengthwise. And this is just, some people don't like to just bite right into a whole tomato. They prefer for it to be opened already because of the little pop. I know my children, they don't really like tomatoes, but they'll eat it when I cut them in half, and they're tiny like these in a salad. That should be enough for the salad. We don't have to go too crazy. And I'm just sprinkling all this stuff across the top. Now, there's many ways to make salad. Obviously, we could toss the salad. We could make the dressing on the side. But with this, because we have our hot noodles there and we don't want to wait forever, we have some raspberries for sweetness. We're just going to throw a couple of these around. We don't want to do anything that's going to be too time consuming. So the raspberries can stay whole. They're soft. You can bite right into them. It's great. We have our pumpkin seeds, which I'm replacing the cashews that are in the recipe. And the cashews, I would probably chop up a little, but pumpkin seeds are smaller, so I'm not going to touch those. Some red onion, which I love. When you do the red onion, you might want to take off the top 2 layers because red onions have a tendency to grow skin in the second layer. Not all the time, but sometimes. So just to be on the safe side, especially if you're cooking for production or service, you want to make sure that you're not getting tough onion pieces, tough onion slices or diced onion. And these are going to be thin slices also, just a couple. That should be enough just to spread around the top. We'll separate them a little bit. And I'm going to show you guys what we got so far before we even throw the pepitas on top, which are the pumpkin seeds. And that's what it is. That's my kind of salad. So now I'm going to have some pumpkin seeds over here. I'm going to roll out a lime. This is just going to make my lime really juicy. Right now it's very tough. And if you want to maximize your juice extraction, you're going to just roll it. And a lot of people say, how do you know when it's ready? Okay, so it's going to start to get soft. But the big thing is that lemons and limes, they have oil in the skin. You're going to see the skin start to get shiny. The oil is going to start to release. I smell my hand. Your hand should smell like lemon or lime, whichever one you're rolling out. Should be very fragrant. But don't put too much pressure where it pops, because that can happen too. And typically I would spread some oil right over the top, drizzle, and then sprinkle my salt and pepper, but I'm going to use the lime juice for that instead. That should be good enough. We'll see. All right, lime, don't embarrass me. I rolled you out. Give me some good juice. And then we're just going to squeeze all around. All right, that's pretty juicy. It smells amazing. I'm just imagining those raspberries with the lime juice on there. That citrus goes great together. And honestly, the tamari would also go great with this. So I may put a little tamari on this behind the scenes. Okay, now once I do that, while the moisture is sitting right there in front of me, I'm gonna put a little salt and pepper over the top. That's gonna be my seasoning. And you want to do that while it's moist because it'll stick. If you season it while it's dry, your seasoning is going to fall to the bottom of your bowl. And you don't want that. You want it to actually stick to those greens and those fruits and vegetables. So just a light sprinkle over the top. That's enough. I'll put the rest back. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the red pepper. And if you saw in the recipe, if you have the recipe, you'll see that it said mint and cilantro, which I love to have in my salads whenever I'm having an Asian salad, or Asian style salad, excuse me. And I just have some mint here and some water and some cilantro and some water so that they stay crispy. And you don't have to chop this up. You can literally just break some off and put it right over the top. Or if you prefer and you don't like whole herbs in your mouth, you can tear them up or chop them up. And I just basically rip mine up a little bit and sprinkle it over the top. And I'll grab some cilantro and do the same thing. And you don't need much. It's just a little. This salad it's a good sized salad, but if you're a salad eater like me, this will be probably 2 servings. And you just want a little bit to make pops of flavor throughout the salad. You want to keep your salad excited. A lot of people contact me and they're like, I hate salad. How can I like salad? What to do? I'm like, how could you hate salad when it's so versatile? Like anything could be salad. You can make salad pop in so many ways. And I'm adding some cilantro that I just tore up a hand over the top. And voila, that's it. And you guys can see here, not bad. Not bad. And this only took a couple minutes.
Beautiful.
We have our noodle dish, which I can still feel some heat coming off of that. That's the other thing about the wok too. I don't know what it is. I don't know who invented that technology, but things you cook in a wok just stays hot for a longer time. And even the food in the wok, when I turn the heat off and I leave food in the wok, it just stays hot for a longer time. But here's our meal.
There was a question about whether you, about where to get a wok, where you've purchased a wok, a good wok, or do you know a good wok people can purchase? Do you have a favorite wok?
I mean, you can get a wok at Target. You can get them on Amazon. The only thing about ordering online for me is just knowing the size. You also want to be careful with knowing if it's flat on the bottom or round on the bottom. Okay, because some woks will tell you do not put on a certain type of stovetop, and you purchased it, and then you're like, do I really want to bring this back because it doesn't work on my stovetop? But you can get them pretty much anywhere. I mean, I see woks in even some of the local supermarkets. And I don't know if I answered this earlier about the tamari, I'm just remembering. You can get tamari at probably any local supermarket. If you look in the section where they sell like sesame oil and things, and soy sauce and things like that, there's usually a small section that has tamari as well. And it's become so popular, it's usually readily available at most small supermarkets.
So there's another question about where one should store ginger. Where do you recommend people store their ginger?
Okay, so for me, I keep my ginger in my crisper in the fridge. I usually wrap it or put it in a Ziploc. I don't wrap it really, really tight. I like to leave a little air in there, unless, well, not for any particular reason, honestly. I find that my ginger starts to sprout depending on how I wrap it. When it sprouts, I just throw it back in my garden and grow more ginger, but everybody's not gonna do that. Most people just throw it out. They're like, it's no good. So to save it so that you don't have to do that, just put it in some plastic lightly and keep it in your crisper and you should be fine. And try to find ginger that's really, really firm. It doesn't have any soft spots or anything like that. A lot of times you'll find ginger, and let's see if I have a piece of ginger around. You'll find ginger, like I have some in plastic right here. This is not even the ginger I use today. It's in plastic and I'm saving it to see if it'll sprout, but I could actually still use this. The only thing is that I would have to do a lot of trimming. So these spots are already turning soft. And they sell a lot of this, unfortunately, in small supermarkets. You'll find ginger that's already getting a little soft. You don't want that. Just find ginger that has a much brighter skin color and has a shine to it almost and is very firm. And that ginger will last you quite a while. And don't buy too much. That's the other thing. Some people, because ginger is very inexpensive, They'll buy a whole big chunk like this, and then they don't know what to do with it. So just buy what you need.
Thank you. We have somebody else who followed along and cooked your noodle dish and said that it was absolutely delicious.
Oh, look, and they ate it already. Now I'm jealous.
They're eating during the class. And there was a question about what happens if you put too much red pepper flakes in your dish. Is there anything you can do to kind of tone it down?
Yeah, have a glass of milk on the side. You can have some almond or cashew milk on the side, or whatever kind of milk you drink, or maybe some kind of yogurt. There's not much you can do once the pepper sets in. Once the pepper sets in, that's pretty much it.
Okay, well, she put too much in, but then she was the person who made it and enjoyed the meal, so I think it was.
Okay, so that works out. See, even though I put all that red pepper flakes, I'm probably still gonna go back and put like a hot oil or something like that over the top, because I just like spice like that.
Okay.
Laura, do you actually have a visual of your food that you can share with us? Have you finished it already?
I think she cooked it and ate it already.
Yeah.
Seems like it.
There.
Any other questions?
If anyone would like to ask a question
Go for it.
live or in the chat box, please feel free. Is there a way for them to raise their hand, or just we can unmute you? They can unmute themselves.
Yeah, we can unmute if somebody has a question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Chef. I have a question regarding the red pepper flakes. When do you use the red pepper flakes as opposed to cayenne pepper? What's that decision-making process?
That's a good question, because cayenne is just ground red pepper. When I want to disperse the spice more evenly, then I use the cayenne. If I want some heat in spots, then I use the flakes. Flakes I'll put on top of like a flat bread with mushroom and things like that, or I'll throw it in a dish like this where there's going to be pops of heat all around. Like I might bite into a portion that's hot, I might not. But if I'm doing something like, I actually use cayenne religiously in my mac and cheese, because I like to have an overall heat profile. Excuse me. So because of that, I put some cayenne in there because I know I won't get that same profile with the red pepper flakes. But if the red pepper flakes sit in liquid long enough, it will get hot and it will have a similar heat effect. Cayenne has a slightly different flavor though.
Okay. And we have another question. Do you have a favorite go-to dish?
It's probably this. And it's not necessarily these exact vegetables, but anything I can throw in a wok or a large skillet really quickly with vegetables, that's typically what I do. My go-to is just really stir-fried vegetables, because it's fast and it's an easy way for me to consume a large variety of vegetables at one time. Most people, when we cook, we make like broccoli or green beans or, cabbage or kale on the side for dinner or lunch or whatever, or we'll have a salad. And those greens are one green and not typically a bunch of different greens and a bunch of different vegetables. So I know I need variety. I know my family needs variety. I just like to throw it all together and do a stir fry. So this is probably my favorite go-to dish. And I was a kid who just loved ramen noodles, like the packets, like the salty, like noodle thing. And I was like, man, how could I kick that habit since I'm like turning into a healthier individual? And then I discovered like udon and buckwheat and soba and rice noodles. And I was like, you know what? I can still do this and I can make this myself much healthier. And now I actually am addicted to stir fries and noodles and things like that, and brown rice stir fries.
Well, you're inspiring all of us. We have an additional question about, is it okay to buy ginger if it's moist. And I believe you answered that, but can you talk about that again?
I don't think I mentioned moisture, but I would not buy moist ginger.
Uh-huh.
I would not buy moist ginger. I don't typically like to buy anything, any root thing like ginger or turmeric or anything like that if it has moisture, because rot can set in and they can mold quickly from moisture. So if you're buying it and it's already moist, unless so some markets will like spray it for like presentation and stuff like that. They mist the vegetables and stuff, but that's not something you typically should be misting. It should be kept dry. So I wouldn't buy moist ginger.
Any last questions before we wrap it up? One thing that Liana put in the chat box, which is worth mentioning again, is that Plant Powered Metro New York does use lime and what are some of the alternatives to salt? Lime and
different vinegars are often sort of more
Yeah.
common,
You
right?
can use, I like to use apple cider vinegar. I use rice wine vinegar. If I'm not gonna, I don't typically even need salt. Like I just take vegetables right out my fridge and just eat it. But again, you have to go with what you're comfortable with. You can work your way. So the goal is to work your way into a healthier lifestyle, not just dive headfirst into it, right? Because you don't want to scare yourself back to old habits. So start where you're comfortable, start reducing your salt, find different things. There's things like tamari, which has a salt, which already has a salty profile. There's other things you can find that has kind of a salty profile. So you can add lemon, you can add different vinegars. My personal thing I do is mostly AC apple cider vinegar and sometimes a little rice wine vinegar. And then I just stick to fruit juices. I'll squeeze an orange over it, or I'll squeeze a mandarin over it, or a lemon or a lime. Or I'll just chop up enough fruit in there that when I toss it together, those fruit juices will saturate my greens, and then I just have like a fruity salad.
fantastic.
What I love about that is that that vitamin C then brings out the all the nutrients from the greens as well. So it actually
Absolutely.
has a
Absolutely.
nutritional value as well.
You're creating a harmony in your mouth. You're just like,
Okay, well, thank you so much. It was, I really loved your lime trick, so I'm going to take that with me as one of my takeaways. And we're really very excited that all of you joined us. I wanted to say that if you would like to join the Bronx Eats newsletter, we would love to have you on our list, just so we can stay connected and you can learn about the upcoming events that we are having. There are going to be more cooking demos throughout the summer featuring Bronx-based cooks and chefs. And we'll also provide Bronx resources to people in the Bronx for surviving these challenging times. And you can email me directly at gail@bronxeats.org, or you can go to bronxeats.org and put your name on the mailing list.
Excellent. And Gail, we just had someone, Allison, have you been cooking along with us? Do you want to show your dish?
Oh, yes. Can we
Where
show
are
her?
you, Allison? Let me see. Oh, great.
So I am so different from what the chef did because I worked with what I had in my kitchen.
all good.
So the tips you gave were awesome. So I worked with, okay, that doesn't look that great, but it's kind of overly cooked maybe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I put, and then I didn't have any noodles, so I just put it on a wrap. Can you see that?
Excellent. Yeah, improvising is the way to go.
That's excellent. I mean, I do stuff like that all the time. If I don't have any, if I'm craving that need for some carbs or some grains or something like that, and I don't have rice or noodles, I will grab a tortilla or a flatbread or something like that and toast it and put it right on top. So that's a good thing right there. That was great improvisation. And it's just a little trial and error, right? So you were using open flame, so you know, like some things cook faster than others. Just be conscious of what you're throwing in your pan first. It doesn't all have to go in at the same time.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Allison. And thanks also
Great job.
to Chef Thomas. Chef Thomas, there was a question. How can people follow you? Do you have social media or a mailing list or something?
I do have social media, not a mailing list. I'm a little bit of a dinosaur when it comes to the social media and mailing lists and things like that. I've had my, set clients and things for so many years, but you can follow me on Instagram at BrickHouseChef. That's my IG, and on Facebook, I believe it's Thomas Stevens Cooks. If you do like a facebook.com/, that's the easiest way to find me, because apparently there's about 300 Thomas Stevens on Facebook.
Great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And I'll just close out. In addition to Bronx Cooks Together, this series that we've just started, Plant Powered Metro New York has online educational programs really ongoing throughout the summer in both English and Spanish. So we invite you to check out our full events calendar on our website, which I'm going to post here. And if you're new to whole food plant-based nutrition, and this is sort of the first time you're getting exposed to these ideas about, why you would choose plants and why you would reduce oil and use less processed foods, I really encourage you to register for a program that we're doing on Thursday, June 25th, which is called Get in the Driver's Seat of Health with Plant-Based Nutrition. It's going to feature two wonderful leaders in the field, Dr. Michael Greger and Susan Benegas, who have quite a lot to share about why plant-based nutrition is health promoting. And it will go into some of the science and the whys behind all of this. So please do sign up for things that speak to you, and we'll be addressing different kinds of chronic diseases and aspects of nutrition and food from many different angles. But definitely come back and join us next Tuesday. We're going to have Chef Jillian Mariscal, who will be demonstrating some wonderful dishes from her Latin culture. And we'll be back at 6 p.m. next Tuesday, the 23rd. Gail?
Yeah, I am just very grateful that you all showed up. Please tell your friends about us. We are excited to keep moving this great group forward. And, we have wonderful chefs in the lineup, so we would love to be able to share broadly with all of you and anybody who might be interested. So spread the word.
Awesome. And thank you guys for tuning in, everybody who joined. Thank you all, Bronx Eats and Plant Powered, for having me on here. I love the Bronx. I love my city. So I was happy to be on here. Thank you for having me.
So happy cooking, everyone. We'll see you next Tuesday night at 6, and be in touch. I think all of the websites and the info is on our chat, on the chat.
Hey.
Okay, take care.